Hey guys, this is Nick Apostolides. I play Leon Kennedy in the RE2 Remake, and you're listening to the Residents of Evil podcast.
You sound like Leon Kennedy.
Well, you wouldn't happen to know that guy, would you?
That's
You guys liking the game?
Oh, I love it.
Really liking it.
Oh, yeah.
It's so damn good.
Totally worth the 13-year wait.
Yeah. We were actually
It's 17.
Before we started talking about having you on for an interview and everything, we were talking about how well you fit, Leon, because we all got to chat with Paul and we really liked Paul's performance. And then when the demo came out, we're like, man, this guy really nailed it.
Yeah.
Thanks. I actually listened to a lot of your interviews when I became aware of who you guys were. I enjoy listening about experiences of other people that I've been listening to all my life, pretty much. So I actually heard that one from Paul.
No.
That was a lot of fun.
I guess we kind of rolled into it, so let's just keep going. Yeah, did you ever think when you were making the game and then you discovered us that you had to think that I was going to come get you?
Well, I had an idea, and by the way, I do want to thank you guys because this is my first official interview about the game, and it's going to be one of many, and it's kind of marking my official entrance into the fan outreach world, and it's a bit of a milestone in that way. Booking the game was a milestone. The game releasing was a milestone. And now this first interview, it is kind of special. And I'll probably always remember it because it's going to kind of jumpstart me into this new chapter of my life. And so thank you guys for the time. Thank you for having me.
You're awesome. I mean, you nailed the part. You're an awesome guy. You're a Resident Evil fan. You're the perfect cast for this right now. Really, I mean, there's nobody better I think they could have got. You delivered so well, and I'm happy that you're part of the universe.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. As a fan myself, that means a lot.
So, talking about being a fan, you said you've been a fan since the beginning. Back when I'm assuming Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 came out. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your history and love of the series.
Oh, geez. I mean, first of all, I should talk about my love affair with Capcom.
Oh. That's true. That's true.
I mean, they only made the game, but here's the thing. When I was about 6, 7 years old in elementary school, I was introduced to Mega Man, right? I started with NES, and I loved that series, that franchise so much that a couple of my buddies back home, we started what we called the Mega Man Club, and at recess at school, we would get together at this secret little club, and we would talk about new villains, new bosses, and new games coming out, all Mega Man related. And then Street Fighter came with Super Nintendo, and then Resident Evil came. And so, I didn't even realize that I was just in love with Capcom at the time, but it was their games that really, filled my childhood with so much entertainment. And so, Resident Evil, as I matured, became my favorite franchise just because of the survival horror. I started playing that probably in maybe 98 or 99, and RE2 was actually the first game that entered me into the franchise. My mom didn't even want me playing it at the time because she thought it was too bloody and gory. You're blowing off heads, honey, that's awful. And then I loved it so much, I went back, I played 1. My little brother and cousin were growing up. I introduced them to 3, played that together. And then when 4 came out, forget it. That was it for me. 4, we played that endlessly. We followed the release of 5 a couple of years later, all the rumors, all the new trailers, the research and development on the game. And then I've been a fan ever since then. So we're talking 20 years deep.
Wow. Yeah. That's how I was too. I came in on 2. Immediately picked up 1 as I was playing 2 because I was so in love with 2. And then 3 came out, and I've played, I think, every entry. I don't think there's any that I've missed. I'm hardcore in love.
Your story is so much like mine, and it must be a dream come true for you. You're just like us, but now you are filling the shoes of one of the most iconic Resident Evil characters around. That must seriously be very surreal for you.
Yeah.
Guys, you have no idea. Look, I booked this game almost 3 years ago, and it's still surreal all this time later.
I bet you wanted to tell everybody about it, but you couldn't talk about it for a long time.
Oh, let me tell you, whatever you guys celebrate, I celebrate Christmas, and growing up the night before Christmas, you have that anticipation of all the presents you're gonna open, and yep. I felt like that every night for 3 years.
That's rough.
Wait, that present.
And when it dropped on January 25th, I was actually surprisingly calm, collected, and poised, and just kind of ready for that next piece of my life to happen, that next chapter. And like I said, it's still surreal. It's the biggest honor of my life to be invited into this universe that I've been playing for 20 years.
Yeah, I can imagine just to be so into it, and then all of a sudden you are in it. It's got to be a surreal feeling.
It's crazy. Yeah, no, it is. It's a crazy thing for him. I mean, he's a Capcom fan in general. Like, some people just like Resident Evil or one thing, but he's all over the place like I am. Because these guys know it here, and yeah. Nick, now you'll know. But I'm like the team's resident like Capcom guy. Like, I've played like all the games. Everything. Like, I've collected them all. I've got a huge collection of them and everything like that. From like the beat 'em ups like Final Fight. Everything, Dead Rising, any like little like subpar ones that they may have done in the past, like that kind of went under the radar, but like our secret gems. Played them all. Like, it's just they Capcom always had done so well with the games that they had put out, and it's like each one just felt really special. There was no really like miss. It was either a hit or like a hidden gem, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, being in this particular franchise is incredibly special.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that I was invited to work for the company, that's just still mind-blowing to me. And I would like to shake somebody's hand in Japan one day, just say thank you.
Thank you for making this little boy's dream come reality, pretty much.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it.
So you're playing Leon. Is Leon your favorite character in the series, or do you like someone else?
No, I gotta say he is, and it's because he was the first one I ever played, and then I spent I'm very close with my little brother, and we grew up on video games, and I taught him everything he knows. Even though he grew up a little later, I started him on NES. I think I had PlayStation at the time, but I started him on NES like I started, and I started him on Mega Man because I wanted him to experience what I did, and when 4 came out, he was just old enough to play that game, and I actually probably had to sneak around my mom because she didn't want him playing that. And we played it so much that I just have so many deep-rooted memories, like good memories, and we just got attached to Leon. So I'd say naturally, it was. Even if I never booked this game, I'd still say the same thing.
Yeah, I get the memories like that too. I played, the hell out of it when it first came out. Well, not when it first, over that summer. And I went back home because I would spend the summers with my grandparents, and I would work down there and everything. And I came back home, and I met up with friends from school, and I introduced them to Resident Evil. And of course, they fell in love with it. But my good buddies would be sitting there playing, and then they would call me on the landline to the house and be like, "Hey, I'm stuck." I was like, "All right, this is where you need to go. You need to go here, and you're going to get that, and this thing's going to come through there, and then you're going to fight this." And it'd be a 4-hour phone call of me just being the walking strategy guide for these guys.
No internet back then. That's what we had to do.
I was prima. So
that's right.
Or, the many nights, even after we beat the game so many times, but we still spent many a nights, all night, drinking Mountain Dew or cream soda and playing Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, all throughout the night, just doing, nonstop. So many nights.
Takes me back. So because you're a fan of all Resident Evil. You started with 2, like myself. Your favorite characters, Leon, like myself. But what was your favorite moment from the franchise? The one that you just, was it an experience with your friends, or was it like a part in the game? Like, what part really stood out to you?
Other than your part, obviously.
Well, no,
that definitely would.
No, it's I actually messaged you guys. I replied to a post you had put up. I think you asked that question in the lead up to the release of this game. You said, "What's your favorite RE moment?" And it's actually the Keeper's Diary.
Yes.
in part one.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like, so I was playing one for the first time, and I was younger at that point, and I had seen zombie movies, but I wasn't deep into it like I am now with that whole culture, and they weren't as popular as they are now. And so when I read The Keeper's Diary, you know which one I'm talking about, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
In the little bedroom there.
Yep.
And it just like sheds this light of how a person's mind just like degenerates and just like crumbles as he's slowly turning. And so the last entry, May 19th, 1998, when he says, "Fever gone but itchy, hungry and eat doggy food. Itchy, itchy, ugly face so killed him. Tasty." And then number 4, itchy, tasty. And my little brother was actually watching me play at that time, I think, and we both kind of like laughed because it was hilarious. And then we were just like, "Oh, geez. Like that really probably happened if he was just about to turn."
Yeah.
He's throwing down his last thoughts as a human, and it's like somber, but that kind of set the tone for the whole series for me.
Yeah, and then he bursts out of the closet behind you and scares the shit out of you. Yeah. So
that's cool. They actually had a moment like that. I'm not going to do any spoilers here, but
Yeah.
there was a part in the game that actually had something very, very close to that original one, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Don't say it because I haven't played the game yet.
Yeah, yeah.
I definitely won't.
You got to wait to play with your brother, which I think is awesome that you're going to do that. That you're sharing that moment, and you're like, as much as you want to play, you have to save it because of that special bond you guys have.
Yep.
That's tradition.
Yeah.
My brother and my cousin Garrett, we always play these games together, and we just pull all-nighters and beat them. So I probably have to wait till March or April until I can get back east.
I was talking with Jolene the other day, and she said that since she's not a gamer, you were like, "Hey, come over, we'll play it together. I'll show it to you."
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. She also said that when she knew basically what she was going into audition for, did you know that you were going in for the game and the part that you were, trying to get Leon?
Well, here's the weird thing about this. So they had posted an actress call, like a audition submission, and it was just a casting call for, it said Resident Evil remake, or I forget what it was titled. But when I submitted for it, I thought it was just a fan film. I don't think I read it thoroughly. I just breezed through it and I said, "Oh, Resident Evil. Yeah. I'll put my name in there." And about a week or two later, I get the audition. And obviously I read through it thoroughly to see what it was, who was producing it, if it was a small project or big one. And I realized real quickly that it was the motion capture for the entire game to be the character. And that's when my heart kind of stopped and the earth stopped spinning. And I was like, wait a minute. This is an audition for the new game that I didn't even know was being made. What? and then, so I was actually out of state at the time of my audition. I couldn't make it. I forget where I was. And I emailed the casting director, who I'm good friends with now, and I begged her on my hands and my knees, is there any other way I can audition? Because I cannot be in LA for this time. I said, you have no idea how big of a fan I am. This is my whole life, please. And she said, well, you can come, the week after we have a second session. I said, okay. So basically, I was in New York, actually, and I had about 12 days to prep for this audition with all the scenes and everything. And I went nuts. I didn't know anything about motion capture at the time. I reached out to a good friend of mine who is a guru at Mocap, and she's done maybe 30 games. She gave me a little advice, and I trained physically for it. I went on a little diet to be nice and lean and strong like Leon, because he's not like a big tank like Chris was.
Yeah.
So I wanted to look the part. I wanted to sound the part. And I prepped those scenes quite a bit with a friend of mine and my girlfriend, and that's kind of what happened. And I went in, and about 3 auditions later, I booked the part.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you put a lot of passion into this, which we appreciate because it turned out fantastic.
It really did.
Yeah. Sorry, I ramble a lot with these things, but I have a lot to say.
No, go for it. Yeah. Fun. Say it all. That's what we're here for.
That leads us into the next question we have for you. You're a fan of the series. Was there a level of pressure you felt when auditioning? You said you really went hard. You got in shape. When you found out you're Leon, now that's got to be a lot of pressure, especially when he's your favorite character. How was that like sort of experience going into it?
Well, the audition or the actual booking?
Well, once you actually started recording and just kind of going through the motions, like was there any pressure or to fill such big shoes?
Oh, are you kidding? Well, yeah, it was. I'm not a stranger to acting. Okay, I've been doing acting for a while. I've done a lot of voiceover, especially in commercial work, but I had never actually been in a video game. It was a dream of mine. I didn't even realize maybe 4 or 5 years ago that acting in video games could be a sustainable career, but it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And, the game is changing now. And so when I wanted to pursue this, that was the first thing I had ever done. So when I booked the part, of course, I was going in a bit green in the mocap world, but I had to have faith in myself and also in Capcom. And I said to myself, look, they cast you for a reason.
Right.
Prepped the hell out of it. You know the universe. You know the character. You know his relationship with all the other ones. And they cast you because they trusted you. You kind of sound like him. You kind of move like him. And you have a lot of personality traits similar to him. And so I just trusted myself. I went in and I said, let's just do this. And I tried not to freak out. It was tough.
Very professional of you.
You sound like him, you move like him, but you look like Chris Redfield.
That's true.
We were talking about that.
I probably have more physical features similar to Chris. But the thing is, when casting these characters, they do try to cast people with a similar likeness.
Mm-hmm.
Because if my face was extremely different looking than his, my facial expressions would not translate on a 1-to-1 ratio or even close to it.
That's true.
I can imagine
matched
that.
me up with, I think his name is Eduard Bataluda.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The model.
Right.
I have a similar bone structure. We don't look like brothers, but it's passable. And so when my expressions are put on his face, they don't look so strange.
Right. Now, I'm sure they have to find somebody who's a close match. And in this case, coming into it being this is your first time doing mocap, first time doing a video game, but you did have the acting experience. I'm sure there's a level of difference, like coming into the first day and being like, all right, I'm Leon. And then what the hell did I just get myself into? This is such a new experience,
Well, like I said, I understood his character. I've been playing him for so many years. I understood his relationship with Ada and Claire in the second one. The scripts made sense to me. Everything made sense. And I just went in. Full speed.
What was the mocap process like for you being the first timer?
It's different. Well, I'll put it this way. I come from an action actor background.
Right.
I do a lot of action films. No stranger to handling weapons, firearms. With mocap, you are pretty much in an empty room. It's closer to theater than it is to film, in the way that there aren't necessarily any close-ups. You don't pause and do the close-up line for that one-liner. They're filming you at all angles every take. And so you act out these scenes for 2 to 3 minutes at a time with 0 cuts. You got to get everything right, all the blocking. You have to imagine that a lot of things are in that room. If there's a wall that's supposed to be to your right side on 2 feet over, sometimes you have to just imagine it's there. And so you have to use your imagination. I'm a method actor. I like to feel things. If I'm in a desert, I like to feel the heat. I like to feel everything. Mm-hmm. And so that was definitely an exercise for me. It was a stretch. I had to train these muscles I had never used before mentally. So it was kind of a really cool process. I learned a ton, and I love it now.
So I'm assuming it's something you really want to dive into more, hopefully bringing you back as Leon in the future for another entry, but definitely coming from acting and now getting to dip your toes into the mocap and video game side, I'm sure you want to come back and do more video games.
Dude, honestly, if someone told me that's going to be your career for the next 20 years and you can't do anything else, I would take it.
Hell yeah.
But it's because
that's a true fan right there.
Yeah.
It's because it is a viable career at this point in time in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Financially speaking, like you can support yourself as a video game actor. The fans are loyal, and also it's just fun, guys. I mean,
I bet
these all of our lives, and to be inside of one is don't even know how to describe that.
Once all that work and all that preparation goes into it, and you get to see the final product with how far technology's come, it must be a pretty crazy experience seeing it all unfold and how real and lifelike the emotions are in these characters nowadays. You can actually get, what they're feeling and their emotions in their face. It's crazy.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it is hardcore acting. I mean, I said it's not so close to film, just in the process way, but all of the acting I've ever done, I mean, this was super emotional, and all of the lines, like, they came from real places. The cinematics in games today are ridiculous. They're. I mean, I don't know if any of you have played like The Last of Us or like Red Dead 2.
Yes.
These games are phenomenal, and they're filming them like movies. They have excellent scripts, excellent acting, and that's why I would love to just be in it for the next 20 years.
You may get lucky. A lot of people are calling for a Resident Evil 4 remake now, so you get to step back into your other favorite Resident Evil game.
Yeah,
and I can only hope.
Yeah. We talked briefly before the interview, and we had talked about you guys would do the scenes and everything, but then you were actually able to go back. You haven't played the game, but you've seen a lot of the cinematics.
I have just because I filmed them, and I know what they are. I was curious to see how they came out. So I'm familiar with the general story, but I still have not read like a full script, and so I don't know how this game will play out. There's still going to be a lot of surprises for me,
which is great. There will be. Yeah, you get to re-experience Resident Evil 2 like we did, and appreciate the work you put into it. But did you get to see any of the cinematics as you were doing the filming? Have you seen anything other than what you remember from actually making it? Have you seen any of the final product?
Like on YouTube?
Yeah, or just in general. Like, have you seen like your work in the cutscenes and stuff? I just want to get what's your reaction to seeing yourself perform as Leon now on the screen?
I've seen a couple of the cutscenes, and I think they did a really good job. The graphics impressed me. The sound design and just I think they captured the emotion in the realness in the interactions. And that was one of their big focuses.
Yeah,
they wanted everything to feel grounded.
I see that.
It was. It really did feel grounded from those cutscenes I watched because I'm a photographer, so when it comes to gaming and stuff like that, I always think like cinematic wise and like photo wise, like how's this gonna look? And like they just nailed so much of it perfectly. Like it was like a seamless thing. Well, and that's the one thing Resident Evil I think has always done very well when they started getting big with cinematics, especially with Resident Evil 5. They really just went to town with how they made everything look. Because Resident Evil 5 is like 10 years old now. Oh, it's going to be in a couple months. And it still looks phenomenal when you look at their cutscenes. And I think Resident Evil 2 Remake is going to be one of those that you can look at this game 20 years later and you're going to be like, this is still a beautiful looking game.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little details and the facial movements, the script was really, really well done, and how you guys delivered each line. Like you said, it felt grounded, it felt real, it was emotional, and you could see all that portrayed through the cinematics, through the CG, and it just blows my mind, like watching a cutscene and seeing the smallest little eye movement or the twitch, or at the beginning, the guy licking his lips as he's eating a burger. So
it's all there.
Yeah, it's insane.
Well, Capcom really did they knocked it out of the park with this one, and I'm glad they took the time to wait and do it the right way.
Right.
We had an amazing cast. Everyone that I acted with was awesome, and it felt real in every scene that I was in with them. We had an amazing director who, he's just accomplished to no end, and he was very different, a different style director than I had ever worked with. So he really pushed me, and I learned so much from him. So I just had like a really positive experience with this, and I was just waiting for the 3 years to be up.
Yeah.
How much freedom did he give you when you were working on it? Talking with Jolene, she said that you guys were allowed to kind of like take on the character and make them your own and put yourself into it. And there was a sense of freedom there that you're following the script and everything, but you're not locked into it. He let you guys play with the character, basically.
Well, see, that's one of the reasons why he's a good director, because he understands that every person has their own nuances, colloquials that come out of them, and it flows out of them naturally, right? We're all individuals. And if someone else writes a script they almost write it with their nuances and colloquials in mind, and it's not necessarily going to sound natural coming out of everybody. And so when I can throw in my own, they would sometimes say to me, "How would you say this?" Or "How would Nick think that Leon might say this?" As long as it fits in the character, it's okay with us. And they would run it by the director. If he said it was fine, they would run it by the Capcom execs and the producers. And as long as everyone was okay with it, we popped it in, we tried it. And, the rest is left in the editing room. So definitely there are some phrases in there that are said exactly the way that me would say them in real life. And so that's why they said to me, when you play this game, your close friends and your family will see a lot of you in this character, even as Mocap.
Yeah.
Avatar.
Yeah.
Was that a G thanks from you, or was that actually in the script?
I forget if that was given to me or if that's something I would say. But we did a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like, we had many, like trillions of VO lines for ADR, and I had freedom to throw in anything I wanted to say, as long as it sounded natural. Like I said, they might have used some, they might have not. I don't know yet until I play the game.
Yeah. And I've also been told that you were, in a way, directing as well, helping people out because of your familiarity with the characters and the game, that you were a big part of capturing the authenticity of the characters and what Resident Evil 2 meant for people that were new to it, that had never experienced the game, the franchise, or anything like it.
Oh, a little bit, yeah. I mean, Ada is a very particular character. I've played her in many games at this point, with like 2, 4, and then with 6. Just like certain mannerisms or like attitudes. She has a very particular attitude. I understood Leon perfectly clear. I knew that this one was different, although I am way more familiar with him in 4 because I just played it that much more.
Right.
But in 2, Capcom and the director wanted to see a nice arc with this guy. So at the beginning, he's a very earnest Boy Scout. He always wants to do the right thing and really proactive. And, he'd win like school spirit award, And the arc was that he would change to kind of a more, I need to save the day. And he takes on more of a badass role. And what was the question? How did it begin?
Oh, where did it begin? Oh, it was about you stepping into the role and helping kind of direct your castmates and stuff and filling them in on how the characters acted and how the game went.
Yeah, well, I didn't do any like the directing.
Oh, not directing, but being someone who was familiar,
understand like certain motives that they might have, for sure. And it was a collaborative effort, and we all just talked about it. And like I said, I'm just happy so far that the fans feel like this is a true RE game. It feels good to them, and it's a good update into like 2019. And so that's what we're super happy that it all worked.
Being Leon, you have a lot of work with Ada, with Jolene. Did you know that Jolene had been Ada before in a previous Resident Evil entry? Not vocally, but she was the motion cap.
Yeah, I actually I assisted in one of the casting sessions when they were looking for a couple characters.
Oh, okay.
And when Jolene came in, I had never met her before, but the casting director had told me that she played Ada in one of the CG movies, in Damnation. Mm-hmm. And so I was excited to see her performance. And, she definitely captures the essence of Ada, and that's why she's in it.
It's a funny circle, because she was Ada in Damnation, and she worked with Kevin Dorman, who did the motion cap for Leon. And then Kevin has also done the vocals for Chris Redfield. And now you're coming in for Leon. It's just funny to see how these intermoving pieces of you guys being brought back or being brought in and moved around. It's pretty cool that, people are getting callbacks and things like that.
Well, that's the thing. If a person works in a game and the formula is right, it's like, why change it?
Yeah, exactly.
So they're pretty loyal, it seems, and that's why I'm hopeful to work with them again.
Definitely. So what do you remember from the remake to the original, from doing the remake and filming your parts? You haven't played it, but you know the general idea of how the cutscenes go and pieces of that. Your thoughts on the changes from the original to the remake?
That's a really tough question. I mean, in a way, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's kind of like comparing apples to oranges just because of like the decade we're in.
The technology.
With where video games have come. Like RE1 and 2, they were groundbreaking, right? They broke that mold back in the late 90s, but we've changed so much. I would say the biggest difference I feel, aside from the obvious things like graphics, I would say just the story and the situations just seem more grounded. I mean, that's today. These are today's games.
Yeah,
they're like real life.
Yeah, it's like blockbuster type style movies at this point.
Yep.
I mean, look how Metal Gear is done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember hearing the phrase during filming so many times, or iterations of it. How would the situation play out if it actually happened?
Right.
You know, nothing against Paul Haddad or the scriptwriters, but in the original, it just seemed a little almost in like a fantasy world. But that's where they were in '98.
Yeah.
And so just taking it down to like real life, I think was the biggest difference. And I was happy they did that because the games have started to do that more and more over the years. This franchise.
Okay.
I don't want that ever to sound negative about Paul, because I think his work is like, I'm a fan of him and I listen to his podcast. I almost wouldn't want you to put that in case people took it the wrong way.
Well,
like I'm bashing.
Oh, yeah.
No, I kind of want to get into that and get your thoughts, since we've talked to both Paul and Allison about the recasting, which Paul has been removed from the series since 2, but he's still very much attached to the character and to the fan base. And Allison was Claire for such a long time, and so they ended up recasting her for RE2. We've talked to them. We know their side of it. Obviously, Allison was more upset because of how much ownership she had over Claire, how long she played her. But she also, stated that this is business, whether it stings or not. It's still business. And I kind of like to get your side on that, being the new person coming in. I know there's no disrespect and there's no issues. Like you don't want to disrespect them or say anything about their legacy within the series. But coming in as a new character, what are your thoughts on the new casting?
So I actually am a huge fan of all the previous VO actors in these games, especially the ones that have voiced Leon. And that's because I grew up playing their renditions. Yeah. That's the only Leon that I knew was Paul, was Mercier and Mercer.
Yeah.
And they're part of my whole experience with the franchise, and so I bow down to those guys. As far as the recast goes, I mean, for whatever reason, Capcom decided to pass the torch to a whole new like reinvention of this game, and they decided to recast. I'm just honored to sit at the same table as those guys because, as I said, I'm a huge fan, and my only hope going into it, and a slight fear, was that the fans would accept me, into that circle, and just adopt me as a new version of Leon. That's all I wanted, was to do the character justice, because it was a really big shoe to fill.
I think that's exactly what you achieved, because after playing the remake, I love the remake. I'm having so much fun with it, but it'll never take the place of the original. They're both good games, but that one is nostalgia for me, and I can go back and play it, just like I did the first time. And, the reason why I fell in love with it is still there. But now we have this own game. It's like we have 2 Resident Evil 2s, and they're both great games. So they both stand alone as their own games, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not looking for fans to say, hey, you're the best one, you're my favorite one. All I want them to think or say is just welcome to the family. Yeah. That's all I'm looking for.
And then punch you in the face.
Jack Baker from Resident Evil.
Yeah, well, and he's right about that. And I think from what we saw leading up, because I seen like a lot of, I watch a lot of people's like how they react to things. And some people, obviously, they don't understand the nature of the business. They don't understand things. But what you've done with this character, Nick, it's kind of like a new chapter, because you have to think of it like it's like anything else. It's like the new James Bond or the new Jack Reacher and everything. There's always going to be somebody else who does it. And where you're a fan, just like Matt Mercer is, because he started playing the game, I think he said in college back at like in 1998, And he fell in love with the character of Leon, and then years later he got to play him in like Resident Evil 6 and a couple of the movies. So
right, and he's awesome. Like,
oh god, yeah, he's great. I interviewed him at Anime Boston about 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was. And really nice guy. When I talked, because at the time, like, Attack on Titan was the biggest thing, so everybody was asking him Attack on Titan questions, but I was asking like Resident Evil and There Will Be Smash, like a series that he directed and starred in. And that's the thing. You got all these characters out there, and as long as the characters are done justice and written the right way, that's what you should be proud of. And I can say, listening to all the people voice acting and just hearing everything, it was great. This new era has done the cast justice and all the actors who've come before, I feel.
Yeah, I think you talked about passing the torch. I think that it was very well done, and I think that your guys' performance honors their performance.
That's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that means a lot. Well, thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course.
I guess since you're such a big fan of Leon, what are your thoughts on how Leon kind of has progressed throughout the series? Going from a rookie cop, now that you played the rookie cop, to a badass agent working for the government. Like, what are your thoughts on his character and his progression?
Like, playing as I played through the games?
Well, yeah. Just Leon in general as a character from, before the remake, as the route that he had taken, because he is the poster boy for Resident Evil. He's in all the movies. He's in so many of the games. And we've seen him grow with this series, like JJ said, from being a rookie to being a government agent to being pretty much a alcoholic in a hole right now, dealing with all of his personal demons. So
I mean, he has quite a life arc in this franchise. I thought I liked the transition from 2 to 4 quite a bit. As the time was coming for the release of this game, my brother David kept saying to me the line from 4, the opening line, 1998. I remember it like it was yesterday. And that, when I played that for the first time many years ago, that set the tone for the new Leon. Like, he's been around the block at this point. He's he knows exactly what's going on. He's more trained at this point, and then he becomes even more badass in 6. And with the CG movies, he has maybe a bit of a drinking problem. Like, he's seen enough shit, done with it. He doesn't feel like he can make a difference anymore. It's a really cool arc, actually.
Yeah, it is. You get to see the wear and tear and the outside influences knocking away at that wall that he's built, that protection that he has of being this badass, basically, as the series went further. And you see that, like in Vendetta, the most recent entry we have before remake, it's really taken the toll to him. He's questioning, what's the point? It just, everything I do, it just keeps getting worse. Something always happens. And, he's struggling with that. He's taken to drinking. Apparently he spent some time with Keanu Reeves. So
Keanu Reeves there,
yeah, it's an interesting progression.
Definitely.
I mean, I'd probably be the same way. If I
that's true.
1.5 trillion bullets and heads and bodies, and
it's like nothing to you anymore.
Yeah,
it's just what you got to look forward to every day.
Yeah, that's his life. Now that you're in the role, do you want to see any of that change? If they were to go back, and this also kind of leads into something else I want to talk about. We never saw them take down Umbrella, which I'm still mad about to this day. It went from 3 to Code Veronica to, okay, apparently Umbrella's done and Leon works for the government now. Would you like to see them pursue that storyline and actually go take down Umbrella, or any of his future storylines change, or maybe rewrite something?
They've done so much with that franchise.
Yeah, they have.
The whole lore, the whole universe. They keep expanding on it, whether it's the live action movies, the CG movies, the new games coming out. I mean, it seems like sky's the limit with this franchise, and so I'm just excited to see whatever they have down the pipeline.
Yeah,
what they decide to do with
I'm open to it because it's just fun.
Yeah, definitely. And with the Capcom revisiting 2 and the success of 2 right now, the game is selling incredibly well and being well received. There's a possibility we could go back to 3 and then maybe add in some events like you talked about, Ollie, being able to actually take down Umbrella. They could now by doing this, they could add in more story to that and kind of clean some conflicting story details along the way.
Yeah, I mean, this has proven successful, and they already have the new engine, and let's just hope that they keep making these.
For sure. Was it a relief to you jumping into the role, playing your favorite character, to see the success of this game. It's only been out for 2 weeks, but it is doing incredibly well. Like, how did that feel to you?
Well, that ties along with wanting to be accepted in the universe. And if this game had failed, it would have been in part a reflection of the team and, whoever was involved.
Yeah.
And that would have crushed me in a personal way. And the fact that it's successful and people are loving it, that means that Capcom ensured that the formula was right. And that's from everybody. The top dogs all the way down to the PAs on set.
Yeah.
The formula worked. And I couldn't ask for more.
I can't wait for you to play it. I want to get your reaction to all the fan services in it, the little details that they give you to acknowledge the love that you have for the game as a fan and for the series. Just this is little bitty things they put in there to be like, listen, we still care about your feelings. And we want to recognize you guys as fans and for supporting us for so long and almost apologize for some of the things we did along the way.
Sure. I think when I met the people from Capcom, the producing team, the first time they came to LA and I met them was a very special day in my life. And I told the translator in a million ways, I said, tell them that it's the hugest honor to be here, meeting you, working with you. I cannot tell you enough what this means in my life. And I don't know what he said to them in Japanese, but I hope it was pretty accurate to what I was trying to say.
Right. Yeah. Have you heard about the possible Netflix series? The rumors on it? Following our stuff that we put out, I'm sure you've seen it, right? But has any of that come across your radar? Your thoughts on that?
I mean, I just think they're continuing with expanding the franchise. And so I don't know if that's a rumor. We'll wait and see. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I'm open to it.
If they are going to be making a Netflix series, how would you sort of like to see it handled? Would you like to see it kind of go in line with the games or with the movies? And if it did, supposedly it's more backstory on Umbrella and before the outbreak of the T-virus, which you see in Resident Evil 2. What would you like to see from a Resident Evil Netflix series?
I think what we saw in the game, I think this remake is the most realistic approach in every scenario and situation. The movies, they got a little campy towards the end. I'm not the hugest fan. I usually watch all of them just because it's RE.
Same here.
Same here.
Yeah, we did too.
They're a bit campy. And we just want to see something that's more grounded.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if they followed the direction Resident Evil 2 is and fell in line, but kind of kept but not really separate, but just had their own story within this universe, I think that'd be the right approach. And you say you just watched the Resident Evil movies because of Resident Evil like us. So are you excited that there's a possibility that they're remaking the movies now? They're talking about rebooting it, and there's some stuff going on behind the scenes. But what do you think about a reboot on the movies?
I would be extremely excited to see that.
Same here.
Yeah.
Because now I feel like maybe like a decade ago, when you'd see a reboot, they were nothing special, but I feel like reboots are getting a little better nowadays. Personally, the reboot of It.
Yes.
I think. I mean, people regard the original as a classic. It did nothing for me. I didn't watch it as a kid. I wasn't scared as a kid. Mm-hmm. Huge fan of Tim Curry, by the way. But I think the remake was 25 times better, and it's an extremely successful horror movie that paid homage to the first one. And so if they were to reboot this franchise, I think they would do it the right way.
I agree. They seem to be making the correct decisions lately. Now it's from a separate company, Constantine Films, but since, Resident Evil is, this game is so well received, Capcom may have a hand in like, hey, we're trying to make sure we do it right this go around, kind of feels like 1999 all over again, because I remember back when Resident Evil 2 dropped shortly after 3 dropped, and then they started talking about doing the movies, in the early 2000s, and it's like kind of history's repeating itself, so we may get another shot at getting a good movie franchise this go around.
What year are we in?
What year is it? Our childhoods are coming back.
Y2K.
Feels like that.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I think if they were to, for casting wise, if they were to pick a new Chris Redfield, you have my vote. Physically, you have the ability to do all the action to it. You've been doing that for a long time, but you have a look that looks like Chris Redfield. Yeah, you would fit the part perfectly.
Are you talking about for live action?
Yeah, live action. You can.
Oh man, that would.
You can stay as Leon in the games.
You just have somebody else's voice for you, and then you do Leon.
But that'd be weird.
Yeah,
that'd be a weird mashup.
Yeah,
it would be. It'd be interesting.
And how successful Resident Evil is, you're a huge fan of it. It's 2 is doing awesome right now, remake. But you're also part of another acclaimed game, Life is Strange. You have a part in that as well, and I'm just curious to see what's the difference between those two for you. You did the voice for Life is Strange and everything, and then the universe, like the fan base behind Life is Strange to Resident Evil. I'm just curious to hear about your thoughts on those two.
Well, those are two completely different worlds.
Very different.
I'll be really honest. Anytime I get to voice a video game is special at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's still being invited into a universe. Life is Strange is a pretty popular franchise itself, and I wasn't a huge fan. I actually had never heard of the original.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when you compare that to my fandom of Resident Evil,
it doesn't compare.
There's no comparison.
It does not compare. I was very thankful. I felt fortunate that I got to voice another game. I was on cloud 9, but not the same cloud 9 I was when I walked into the Mocap studio to do the Mocap for Resident Evil. So it's just, I don't mean to disrespect that franchise, but that's the honest truth.
Yeah, I get that. It's like I said, it's apples and oranges.
Good for experience. So to try something you're not 100% interested in. I'm sure you're interested in it, but yeah, like you said, not like Resident Evil. But it's a good experience. It's good to have when you go into something else. And like you said, that just kind of speaks to your professionalism. Of it doesn't really matter what you're doing; you're going to be good at it regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just tried to tap into a version of myself for that character. I tapped into my East Coast roots, a little like charismatic, a little I don't even know the word for it. I haven't slept in 3 days.
Yeah, you're pretty busy right now, and you got more coming up here.
Yeah.
You know what? Talking to you about the whole East Coast roots, though, I haven't heard a whole lot of any kind of accent being from Boston area. Like Tony.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the thing is, being in LA, nobody really wants regionalized accents. And so I had to learn, I just mask it. I pronounce my R's now, but when I'm excited, when I talk fast, my Boston accent does come out in the way, not my R's, I can always pronounce those, but the things I miss all the time is my lowercase O's in some words like Boston. And I should be saying Boston, but I say Boston.
Lobster.
And so This is funny. The director of this game would make fun of me all the time. And some of the times I would deliver my lines and he would be like, watch that lowercase O. It's popping out. The Boston's popping out. And so we have to record these lines every time. And so here's a little tidbit. This is really funny. The scene with Kendo, that somber scene where he has to kill his daughter.
Yeah.
Ooh, dark, yes.
The line where I say, what was scripted was this: helping people like them. That's why I'm a cop.
I hear it.
Oh my God, he sounds like Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
We filmed that scene like 5 times, and he goes, "Cop. It's not a cop. It's a cop."
Cop.
And so I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it, and I was annoyed, and I said, "You know what? Let me try a different line this next take." And he goes, "Okay, just do it." And so we did it again. And I said, "Helping people like them. That's why I joined the force." Because I couldn't.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so there's my Boston, and it's there.
When we start talking about it, it definitely comes out. I can hear it a lot more.
Yeah, now I'm starting to hear it. Now we brought it up.
It's funny because Nick knows how it is, and for anybody listening, like Boston is so famous for all like the movies and everything, and our sports teams and everything. Go Patriots, even though everybody hates us. But like that's the thing. Like I always get asked. I've gone to Texas for conventions and photo shoots. I've gone out to LA for photo shoots and Florida, and people are like, "Wait, you're from Boston?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm from Boston." Like I was like, "No, I don't know Mocky Mock and the Funky Bunch." Okay, It's like people think the city of Boston is the entire state of Massachusetts.
Wait, it's not.
Today I learned.
Yeah, today I learned. And the accent, dropping the accent for the game. You had to tweak your voice a little bit. You sound a lot younger playing the rookie cop.
Believe it or not, I didn't.
Really?
The difference is I've been in a hotel room in Arizona for about 6 nights now, and it's extremely dry in here. And so part of the reason why they went forward with casting me is because my natural voice, I could pass as a young 21-year-old cop.
Yeah.
Cop.
So actually, I didn't affect my voice one bit for that.
That's convenient for
Yeah.
you.
It probably sounds a little different on Skype. But again, they assured me as I was going into it that they cast me for that reason. It was part of the reason that it was my personality and the way that I sounded and moved. And they said, in our eyes, you represent a young Leon, so just be yourself. And I said, okay.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
That's amazing.
Yeah. How did you come across us? Other than me reaching out to you, that's when I found out that you were a fan of the ROE as well. How did you stumble on us? So we've been doing this for 2 years now, and you started making a game 3 years ago. So I'm just wondering how you found us.
Well, as time was going on, and I think it was when the trailer was released in June at E3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I started to just do some research to find out how people were receiving the news and the trailer, and that's probably where I came across your YouTube channel, and I started watching. Like I wasn't even aware that there were huge fan sites. Although I've been a huge fan of the series, I never tried to join like databases or anything online. I just did my own research.
Yeah,
and I just came across your YouTube channel. I saw the podcast you did, and I started following you on Facebook. Once in a while, I would comment on some of your posts and everything, and I thought it was kind of fun because
we didn't know.
You didn't know, but I did. I was the only one who did. I thought it was just
crazy.
fun.
I'm gonna go back now.
Yeah, we're gonna go look for it now. And trust me, I have been like a hawk watching and waiting for the names to get released. As soon as they were dropped on that Wednesday, I already had you on my list, and then you responded a little later that day, so it went pretty quick.
Yeah, well, I was excited because I enjoyed your podcast with the all the former VO actors, and I thought it would be nice to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Well, Nick, did you have any memorable moments from this? Ones that just really stand out to you for this whole process of being casted, auditioning, actually working with the other actors? Like, is there any big things that you would like to share with us today?
I don't know. That's hard. It's just because all of it was so special. From the first response I got from the casting director saying, "Sure, you can come in, to a different date." Just everything just kind of fell in place, and I felt like it was right the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the filming again. Every time I was there, I was in some kind of weird daydream state of like, is this real? Is this really? There were so many special moments. I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you.
No, that's a good answer. All of it. That is good.
Yeah, it was just everything. Like every piece of it was just incredibly special.
Is there anything you're working on? Well, I know you're working on stuff now. You're a very busy person. Anything you could talk about that's coming up that you would like us to keep an eye out for?
Well, I am doing I do a lot of things. I've had a lot of hobbies all my life, and I actually worked in the trades for about maybe 12 to 15 years. And I'm doing this a show right now. I can't reveal too much about it, but we're traveling all over the world, and it's kind of like a documentary building show, and we go around and we help communities in need.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So it's not like a renovating some guy's house show. It's more like a Habitat for Humanity type show.
Right.
And it's very cool. That's probably all I can say about it, but that'll probably be releasing later this year. We're very excited about it. Yeah, that's what's keeping me extremely busy right now.
Yeah, keep an eye out for that, because that's something different. Like you said, there's a lot of renovation shows and stuff like that, and flipping shows, but you don't see a whole lot of shows that people just going out there and helping other people. You really don't.
You're good in real life, just like Leon.
You're too good, Nick.
Well, I mean, I really enjoy building things with my hands, working with my hands, and this is an excuse to travel the world and help a lot of people. And so it was a win-win for everybody involved, and it's a very cool opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is a very special opportunity. Very nice. Do you have any social media plugs? Where can people follow you? Is Instagram, Twitter, Facebook?
Yeah, the best places I would say is Twitter and Instagram. For Instagram, it's Nick_RE2 Apos, APOS. And for Twitter, I don't know why I did this, but it's just capital N, capital I, capital K, underscore, and then my last name, Apostolides, APOSTOLIDES.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And we'll put those links in the description below for everybody if you go follow Nick and keep up with what he's doing and look out for that show that's coming out. Make sure you go check that out, as well as hopefully some future Resident Evil news coming down the road. We hope that we get to see you back here. Maybe a future game or DLC. We don't really know what to expect right now. So
yeah.
But
I'm actually very excited for Ghost Survivors.
Yes.
Yeah, same here.
Coming out quick
So
here.
that's coming out in what, like 10 days or something?
Yeah, about. I think it's the 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see what happens to the rest of the characters that we don't get to play in their non-canon, what if scenarios.
Did they say that they were going to do any? Well, is Ghost Survivor kind of like a new version of Mercenaries?
Sort of. It's like this game's version of it. It doesn't take place, like it's not canon, but it is fun modes where you get to kind of escape the city. Probably be challenges and stuff like that, like Mercenaries, which Mercenaries is one of my favorites, so I'm excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like a what do you call it? It's a what if scenario. Kind of like when they remade Dead Rising 2, it was called Off the Record with Frank West, and it was like a what if scenario. Like, what if Frank was there when the zombie outbreak happened in part 2 instead of Chuck Green? So this is kind of the thing. Like, you play as the mayor's daughter, one of Hunk's team members, and Kendo.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's like, you'll see what they went through in like a what if scenario type thing, which I'm looking forward to because, as great as this game is, there's a lot to it that I wish there was more of, and I feel that this is going to give it to us. Because, like I said, I have like virtually no gripes with this game, but like I said, you haven't played the game, so I'm not going to say anything. But it's just what you want more of, because everything was so perfect when you see it. It's just like, oh, I got to have more.
Yeah,
it's just that
so damn good. We want more.
Yeah.
Well, this is perfect.
Maybe we'll get to see you in it as well. Maybe the characters will interact with Leon at some point in this extra offshoot mode.
Or it might be Mr. X. I mean, he has feelings, dude. He has a history.
I'll wait till you get to play against him.
Oh,
wait. That actually brings me back to a question. I don't know who played Mr. X.
You're saying for motion capture?
Yeah, for motion. Well, obviously he doesn't talk. So who was this big imposing guy that was stomping around chasing everybody?
Dolph Lundgren.
Right.
I am not entirely sure of that. I don't know. Most of his stuff was in game.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's a good question.
Yeah, he didn't really have a lot of cutscene interactions. There was a few, but I think with the way that one of the scenes went, again, won't spoil anything, but they must have filmed that part separately from yours, I think, or something.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. They could have.
I know what you're talking about too.
Oh, okay. Either way, I mean, that's.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I did that.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay.
That was fun. That was a really memorable shot.
That's cool. Being a fan of Resident Evil 2, I'm sure you were terrified of Mr. X in the original game. Just wait till you get to play against him in this one. It's like, that's the big thing right now, is everybody's talking about Mr. X. They really did a fantastic job of making him scary and making the moments tense again.
Well, one question I got for you guys, I don't know, well, maybe just a little precursor, spoilers ahead, but I would love to hear this answer because I'm just curious. As far as like playing Leon first, then Claire, then going back to Leon again, then Claire for a second time, what changes with all those scenarios?
That's a tough one because they didn't really... Yeah. With the remake, fans were kind of hoping for a little more consistency between the two, and it's kind of the opposite. A lot of the things that you do in one, you do in the next one, sort of like the original. But they each have, like, Claire has Sherry, whereas you have moments with Ada. And offhand, I can't really think of too much that changes when you flip them around, other than certain things happen at certain times. Can you guys explain this a little better than I can?
Yeah, they're very similar. There's a lot of retreading the same like puzzles, but in a different way of solving them, but similar puzzles, facing the same enemies in the same areas for the most part. But they did, like I said, that the main changes are the story elements, like Leon's interaction with Ada or Marvin, and then Clara with Irons and Sherry. Also, Mr. X's impact on each character is different as well. So, really? Yeah, even though it's an A scenario for one character, it kind of like Leon's scenario is more based off of his B scenario off the original game in a way.
Yeah.
but they're still very long and a lot of similarities, but just slight differences. Like Leon gets one enemy that Claire doesn't get. Claire gets enemies that Leon never gets. But most of like the areas and stuff are kind of it's very similar. Or Leon might interact with one side character that Claire never gets to see because she takes a different route.
But it doesn't really change if you flip.
It doesn't matter if you play A or B for either one. There's really not a whole lot of difference between those, except obviously the ending.
Yeah. That's the best way to explain it. Is it all pretty much the same except for the ending? Yeah,
that last 20 minutes or so, that very last boss fight. You know which one?
Yeah.
So are you saying that if I want to experience that at the end, I would maybe want to play Claire first and then Leon second to get extended?
Yeah, I would say that because you got that awesome line at the very end. She has a good one too, though. Once I played her B scenario, I was like, okay, they're both pretty epic, but canon-wise is Claire A, Leon B.
The original, and it could be that way in this one. I was thinking when I was playing it.
Yeah,
same. I think it's Claire A and Leon B still stands.
Yeah.
So if you want to get your epic line, play Leon B.
Yes, your epic moment.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind when I play with my little brother.
Yeah.
I want to see his reaction too.
Yeah.
This is his older brother, the guy who introduced it to this damn game and created this passion for it, is now in it.
I think it's cool though that you guys are going to relive those moments together
on a whole new level.
Just kind of take it all in, and then in the future maybe come back and talk about your experience with us or jump in a game with us. But that's cool that you're going to take that time with your brother and get to relive that.
Yeah, my bro and my cousin.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's the same with me.
Taking off like a big 3-day weekend, and we're gonna just play all the scenarios. It's gonna be fun.
Going to Raccoon City. It's like I told everybody when the game came out. Don't contact me. I will be in Raccoon City all weekend.
Took work off.
Yep.
Wish I could have said the same thing, but I can't.
You'll get there. You'll get there. So, do you have any closing thoughts? Any parting words to the fans?
To the fans, I am one of you guys, and I'm just ecstatic, out of my skin, to be a part of this universe at this point, and I'm extremely happy that you like the game, and also, like I said, have welcomed me into the family. I feel great about it, so I can't thank you enough.
Well, thanks for coming on. As always, it's always amazing to talk to the talent that brings these characters to life, and in this case, it's nice to have one of the people who created this and part of the team that's as big a fan as we are. I think. Nothing, the other actors are fans as well once they actually get into it, but they don't know as much about the series as somebody who grew up with it like you. So I really appreciate you not only talking to us, but sharing those memories with us. And, welcome to the universe.
Yeah, welcome.
All right. Thank you.
Well, that'll conclude our episode for today. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and subscribe for more upcoming interviews with the cast of Resident Evil 2 Remake. The Residents of Evil is a Patreon-supported show, so if you'd like to help support the channel and unlock some great perks in return, head over to patreon.com/ROE Network. This episode of the Residents of Evil podcast was brought to you by our Master of Unlocking Patreon members: The Patched Vest, Devil, Devin L. Duso, Proxy1, Christopher Cedric, and Trent Overton. Thank you all so much for watching, and we hope to see you back at the Residents of Evil.